One thing I haven't done is unmute the game. There we go. Okay, good stuff. Shouldn't be too loud. I'll just lower the volume slightly so it's not too loud. There we go. There we go. Okay, right. So we are good to go. I'll explain the run as we're doing it. But the bottom line for this one is that there's 3 different types of championship mode. Sorry, 3 difficulties. There's Novice, Intermediate and Expert. And yeah, since we're ready on time, we'll go with 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so I'll explain how this all works. So there's 8 rallies altogether, and during the 8 rallies we have plenty of shortcuts, plenty of stages, and there's plenty of glitches too that we're going to be using. Most notably a nice little trick that's useful in the super special stages. So we've got altogether there's, I think it's 32 stages. 32 standard stages, sorry, and then there's the bonus stages on top of that, so 36 stages in total, all within an hour and 25 minutes. So these stages, most of them are pretty fast. Some of, like Australia, I think is quite long. France and Italy require a lot of focus and attention, and France most notably requires quite a bit of attention, just because of the fact that in terms of like the grip of the car is dramatic. I say dramatic, it's unbelievable. Like the car will stick to the road pretty well, and that's exactly the kind of physics that we want for France, supposedly. France is actually one of my favourite rallies in the game, just because of the fact that we've got these, like I said, the tarmac physics is quite nice. So for me, driving the tarmac stages in France is pretty nice. I quite enjoy it. One thing that is definitely worth mentioning about this game is there's changeable weather conditions. So, for example, you might get dry weather on one rally, but then it'd be wet on other. There is certain rallies where it is actually dry, and there's others where it is actually wet as well. So it's going to take a lot of effort for me to get things right. Now, I'm not expecting a PB or anything like that, but I will try my best to get this under estimate this time. It should easily go under estimate, even if things do go amiss, thankfully, so it's not all too bad. Finland can actually cause a few issues if it's wet at the start of the run, then it can be a bit of a problem because that's quite a bit of time lost. It's not too much time lost, but it can cause issues. So currently the record for this category is 1:19:58, I believe, which is set by myself. And I'm the only person at the moment to go under 120, and getting 120 is actually a lot harder than it looks. So, believe it or not, originally this the time of this category has come down dramatically over the years. So there's the original time was like a 1:41, then a couple of guys brought it down 1:38, 1:37 I think it was. Then somebody called the Franzowski brought it down to a 1:36. Then I jumped in and brought it down to a 1:27:43 I think it were. That got knocked down by about nearly a minute, or well, about 45 seconds. It got knocked down to a 1:26:58. Again, that was by myself. I managed to get it under the 1:27 mark, which was really good. Thanks for the good luck, by the way, everyone. I appreciate it. And yeah, so it got brought down to a 1:26:58 by me. Then Lucky, who's one of the other fellow Colin McRae Rally 2 speedrunners, came on it and started setting some really good times, and eventually he beat me by about 7 seconds. So it was like a 1:26:51. Then I came back and completely obliterated him with the best, in my opinion, one of my best runs, which was a 1:25.05. It was pretty unbelievable, I'm not gonna lie, it was really, really good. So, anyway, so that was one of the main ones. And then we found out of, funnily enough, of Zorfkov, who's in the chat. He found that there was a extravagant cheat, shall we say, like a nice trick that you could use. And the trick was basically in the super special stages, and you'll see us using it because that's the reason why I set an estimate of 125. Is in the super special stages you can turn round at the start of the stage, head back towards the oncoming car, and get yourself disqualified. And because we've pulled out that much of a gap to the AI previously, what it means is that you'll theoretically win even though you've been disqualified. Interesting mechanic, I know, but again, Zorfkov found this out, so big props goes to him for finding it. And it saved, I wish I was kidding, but we was like, when it got to 125, Lucky did actually manage to beat the 125 that I set, and it was like a 124 something. And he was the only person that did it. And I thought, there's no way I'm going to be able to beat, you know, there's no way I'm going to be able to beat him. Anyway, like I said, Zorfkov found this thing. He was like, I wonder how much time that saves. It must save a lot, surely. Anyway, so we put it to the test, or Lucky did anyway. So Lucky put it to the test, and it was like, it knocked it down. His first run, even with bad weather, 122 something. Then it came down more. It was a 123 or something. I can't quite remember. And my first proper run at it was like a 120.41. So it's like now we've got to find enough time to finally snag the 120 mark. Anyway, just by complete coincidence, I was just relaxing doing a run one day, and it was a sub 120, and that's still the record now. It's also the reason why I haven't actually gone back to this game. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love running this game, I really do. I think it's a great game to run. Personally, it's one of my favourite of the series to run. It can be stressful to get cuts and stuff right, but honestly, it becomes like clockwork eventually. Obviously, the more times you do it, the more practice you get, and the faster you get at stages, the better times you'll do, and eventually you'll get some pretty damn good times. And I will stress that 1:19.58 that I've done, it's not impossible to beat. Like hell, it's impossible. I mean, my summer best is like a 1:19.25, I think, at the moment. So it has got time save in hand, but it's gonna need a good run to do it. I think it had a good UK as well, so getting like the sheer luck on a run to get like a sub 120 run as well, it might be easy for most of the run for you. As in, say you've got dry weather right until the very end, it's actually not as easy as you think. It really isn't. And that is Finland, done and dusted. Next we're on Greece. There's actually a fun little trick you can do with Greece. So, again, this is just for fun, this isn't vital to the speedrun. But if you go, if you go into Sweden, the first stage, so this is like something that was a bug on the PlayStation version and was in the PC version. So here's basically what happens. You load up Sweden stage 1 with a snow blizzard as the weather. The moment it loads into the stage, immediately quit out of the stage and then go into Greece stage 1. For some odd reason, the game can't decide where you are and still thinks you're in Sweden. And because it still thinks you're in Sweden, it snows in Greece. It's quite a funny little mechanic. But again, if you want it to snow in Greece, you can actually make that happen. I know what you're thinking. It never snows in Greece. Well, it does in this game if you make it. That's the best thing. It's just for a bit of fun. It's just for a bit of messing around. But it's possible. You can do that. For the most part, the stages are pretty easy to do in this game. Again, there is cuts that you'll see me do. And I will say, for the most part, pretty much all of the cuts that I use in all of these stages are not found by me. They're all found by the community coming together. Most notably, Lucky, Zorkov, Franzowski and a couple of others. But between the set of guys that have looked into this game and decided to break it in ways of, hey, why don't we try this? And it actually works. So, thanks to all of those guys, this is how this run has become so good. And so very well optimised. So big shout outs goes to them. Hope everyone's doing well today. I will just stress as well, I'll just say that between the BSG Marathon and McRaeathon channels that we are raising money for the Dutch Cancer Society, which is a nationwide organisation committed to fighting cancer while aiming for a cure and a higher quality of life for all those already battling the disease. All of the donations, I can't really speak today, I do apologise. All of your donations, sorry, will go straight to the Dutch Cancer Society. So whether that be through donation wars, bidding wars, etc., it all goes to the Dutch Cancer Society. We won't touch a penny of it. And we are privileged to be working alongside BSG Marathon. So a big thanks goes to them guys for letting us use their channel and some of their tech as well behind the scenes to allow us to run this amazing event. And finally, last but not least, big thanks to Hypnotic, or Hypnotic Streams as is known here on Twitch, for making some of the awesome graphics. I say some of the awesome graphics that you can see on screen. So all of the layouts, the transitions, the videos were all made by him. So big props goes out to him for making such awesome designs and for putting up with myself and Joseph's feedback and criticism. But yeah, it's a big thanks goes out to him. I personally think he's done a fantastic job with the layouts. I don't know if you guys can agree, but I personally think he's done a fantastic job. I say not just like I said, not just the layouts, but everything. You know, he's done a great job with the layouts. He's done a great job with the videos and transition stuff. He has done an absolutely amazing job. So, Hypnotic, if you're watching, well done. You've done a great job. Very impressive. I will say this isn't the fastest car in the game. However, so for those that may have watched ESA Winter that happened last month, I did a Colin McRae Rally 2 run for them, and in the Colin McRae Rally 2 run, I used the Peugeot 205. So for those that probably know rallying, if you don't, the Peugeot 205 was one of the Group B cars. Now Group B was seen as legendary, 80s class, very, very nice, very fast, awesome cars, you know, that sort of thing. Anyway, so the Peugeot 205 in this game is the fastest car in the game. It can reach some ridiculously high top-end speeds. Like most of the cars on here at max can do about 160, but the the 205 can do it without breaking a sweat. And I think the fastest I've actually got out of the car is like, I don't know, like maybe 170 miles an hour, 160. Insane speed. Absolutely insane. But yeah, this is the championship percent category, as you can see. And the championship percent means that you can't use any of the other cars. The only ones you can actually use are the standard cars. So you can only use one of 6 cars, which comes by default with the game when you start a new game. So you can use Subaru Impreza, the Toyota Corolla, Mitsubishi Lancer, Ford Focus, the Seat Cordoba, which is what we're driving, and I'll explain why in a minute, and the Peugeot 206. The New Game Plus category basically means you can use any car that you like. However, there's 2 cars that are excluded from the New Game Plus, simply because of the fact that they have their own categories. So, I'll explain what these 2 cars are, why they have their own individual categories. So the 2 cars that have their own categories are the Mini Cooper, which is part of the Mini Cooper percent run, and the Ford Escort Mark 1%, which is where you drive the Ford Escort Mark 1. Now I know what you're thinking, why have them cars got their own categories? Well, long story short, the 2 cars, in my eyes, are very unique to the game. They're also the slowest as well. However, where the Mini actually makes up for it, because the Mini has some cuts that you can do in the Seat, and you can do in the Peugeot 205, and the other cars. However, there's one that sticks out more than any other. So, on UK Stage 4, which we'll get to towards the end of this run, there is a huge cut that you can do. And the huge cut that you can do basically means you can fit through a little gap with the Mini because of its size. You can fit through the gap, and what you can do is you can go out of bounds and actually finish the stage a lot faster than originally intended. Yeah, it's also very quick in Sweden. It's not too good on like tarmacs, so the likes of France and Italy, but the handling on it is second to none around some of the cars. Yeah, exactly. Front wheel drive is very useful as off-car. You're right. It's one of them cars where so here's the thing. The Ford Escort is rear wheel drive, but the Mini Cooper is front wheel drive, as Orfgor's just said. And they both have their own advantages and disadvantages. For the Mini, there's a lot more advantages than disadvantages. So, because it's front wheel drive, the front end digs into the road, it's actually quite fast to get round corners with the Mini. You tend to have a slight easier time getting round corners with the Mini, which is nice. Then, with the Ford Escort, the Ford Escort is a rear wheel drive car, as I said, and that slides like crazy. So if you want a car that just slides like crazy, that's the car to pick. If you don't, then I'd get the Mini or one of the other cars. The problem is with the rear wheel drive Escort is it's slower than the Mini, and because it's rear wheel drive, it tends to spin up the back wheels quite a bit, which is a real pain for the likes of every rally, especially France and Italy when you want to have grip on the tarmac. It just doesn't want to stick to the road. Why this is a thing and how, we don't know. But there you go. Also, this is the end of Greece. 2:38, nice. That's a pretty good time, actually. Sub 240 is pretty good. Okay, so this is what I meant with the whole trick that Zorfkar found. So normally you go the right way. Not us though, we don't. So there's actually a bug as well in the super special stages, which is there's a weird delay thing between when you play it on manual gears, there's a weird delay between the gears. So, for example, you want to change up a gear, it doesn't register right away. Also, I missed him. Also, what doesn't help is... There we go. So if I touch him... Come on. Come on. What's it doing? Okay, I'm losing a lot of time to this. There we go. Finally. Okay, so that took a lot sooner than expected. It's fine. So, what was supposed to happen there was he was supposed to touch my car, and I was supposed to be disqualified. I did get disqualified eventually, it just took a bit longer than expected. But, oh well, that's fine. We'll still be underestimate. Sweden's actually easier to get that. Greece seems to be a bit of a weird one. Kenya's quite easy to get. And the UK can be a bit funny as well. So, there's two to keep an eye on for later on. But, as I said, doing that, getting the whole disqualification thing, is actually a really big time saver for the run. So, originally, like I said, the record was like a 1:24.51 or something, which Lucky had done. And it knocked nearly 4.5 minutes, well, it did actually, it knocked around 4.5 minutes off his time, just through using that. You may have noticed as well that we changed the gearbox for France. We've actually lowered the gearbox. This is actually intended because the thing is that Greece is a decent speed, Finland is decent, but when you get to France there's a lot more corners, so you need the acceleration, not the speed. For example, when you do Sweden next, we won't be changing the gearbox, but when we do Australia, Kenya, Italy and the UK, we'll be changing the gearbox for each of those. Believe it or not a lot of people, I don't think, actually use the shorter gearbox for the UK, as far as I know. The only reason I use it is because I want more acceleration. It's easier to get out of the corners, especially stage 3. Which, even when it's wet or dry, you ideally want a shorter gearbox. In my last attempt, I hit the car, increased, and didn't get disqualified. And the AI freaked out because he didn't know what to do anymore. Maybe you disqualified it. Because I've managed to do that before. I've managed to disqualify a car without being disqualified myself, which is weird. Again, the whole disqualification physics, the car collision physics, can be a bit off in the stages. Only slightly, but they can be a bit off. Also, 2:21, nice. So, France is honestly my favourite rally, because I really like the tarmac physics. Even if I might go sliding off, these stages for me are some of the most fun to drive. And I mean, like, some of the most fun to drive. They really are great to drive. Very, very exciting. Very nice. I should also just quickly take some time to mention that we do have 2 ongoing bid wars for the marathon. And it's all down to you guys on donating for which will win. So, we have 2 ongoing ones. So the first one that's coming up is Neo Drift Out New Technology, and that's basically where you can pick the car. There is 3 options for the car. There is the Mitsubishi Lancer, which is currently winning with $5, the Subaru Impreza, which is second at the moment with $2.50, and the Toyota Celica, which is currently sat with $0. So if you'd like to get the Toyota Celica to win, then you've just got to donate $5 or more in total, and that will be the card the runner uses at the moment. And that run will be coming up after the Monster Truck Madness 2 run, which is going to be being performed by Zorfkorf next. So you've got around an hour and 50 minutes, just short of 2 hours before. Oh, about an hour and 40 actually, about an hour and 40, an hour and 50 minutes before that run starts to get those donations in. There's also one for Sega Rally Championship, which is my run, and that's the run afterwards. And currently they're both sat on 0, but whichever one wins, if it's a draw, then that will be down to me to decide which car to pick, but it can obviously be in your hands, whichever one you'd like to see me use. So there's only 2 cars for that. There is the Toyota Celica or the Lancia Delta, and it's completely up to you if you want to see me do it or not. And finally, we also have a bid war, a bid goal, sorry, for the Top Gear 2 run that's going to be happening later on by Technical, and that is basically to make him do the USA percent, so all of the US tracks as part of the run. And it'll be a bonus run. It's about 10 minutes, I think, altogether. But if you want to see that, then be sure to get those donations in so that Technical can show off those bonus ones. So, something I haven't mentioned about France yet is these stages have actually been reused in later Colin McRae rally games. So they're originally designed in this game, of course. You know, the tracks were originally designed here. However, in Colin McRae Rally 3, 04 and 2005, you may notice some similarities in the Spain tracks and other countries. That's because they reused the same stages but remodified them, as in updated the graphics of them. So, talk about reusing assets. I know we get it these days in games, but Codemasters were crafty. It took me a long time to figure out and actually realise that they'd used the same tracks over and over. Believe it or not, it actually only came about 2 years ago when I was playing through this game, when I was doing runs of this game, and then runs of Colin McRae Rally 3 and 04 in 2005 to realise, wait a minute, this stage is very familiar, and I played this game back again and I was like, they've reused the asset. I'm like, them bloody crafty sods at Codemasters. I see what you did there. I see you. Yeah, the more you know, eh? The more you know. Also, I have to admit, this run for me is quite enjoyable because it goes very fast, in my eyes. Like, once you get out of Sweden and you're into Australia, the run seems to slow down a bit, but the first half is pretty fast. Italy can be a bit slow, but that depends on what the weather's like, so we might get rain in Italy, you never know. It's probably guaranteed that we're going to get rain in the UK, and I'll have to change tyres. For safety's sake, I am going to check the weather and just make sure that the weather is, make sure the weather is fine and is okay. We do actually have an auto splitter for this game as well, in case you want to run this game itself. All the splits and things like that, they're all on the speedrun.com page. So if you want to, like I said, if you want to run this game, then you can do. And I will say that for me, out of all of the games in the Colin McRae Rally series, the first two are probably the most enjoyable to run. Just because of the fact that it doesn't really require much other than pure driving. The third one, 04, 2005, they use retirement skips for rallies. But you have to get lucky with the AI actually not doing that well on the rallies. Because it is easy to lose the run on that one, so you have to be careful. I will say, again, that the Peugeot 205 is bonkers when you go through this stage. It's insanely fast. Very, very fast. Also, this stage used to give me a lot of grief. It still does at times, but it's not as bad as I think. There will be times where I'll go a bit quiet, and I can only apologise for that. just because I'm concentrating. It does require a lot of concentration racing games. I'm pretty sure a lot of people can agree with that one. Some can be just done off the top of memory. Like, I could probably do this run with my eyes shut. Although that's actually yet to be seen. But, just a case of still needing to concentrate for certain rallies. Like, France and Italy do require a lot of concentration. Sweden's kind of relaxed for me. Australia's a bit hectic. When it wants to be, that is. And that is France, done and dusted. And we've got snow. This isn't actually too bad either. Snow on Sweden isn't that bad. The car does slide a bit more when it snows compared to when it's dry, but this isn't a big deal. In fact, if I'm being honest, I'd say snow in Sweden is actually not that bad as when you... So normally, if you get like rain, in like Finland for example, you tend to lose quite a bit of time because the car tends to slide more. In Sweden, you can't really tell the difference in my book. Like, you don't lose that much time if it snows. Like, if it snows, it's no big deal, is what I'm saying. Also, the last stage will probably be, say the last stage, but stage 4 for this one will actually be an interesting one because the weather can change. Sorry, the time of day can change depending on what the weather's like. So if you get like good weather, you'll get like a sunset. But if it's bad weather, like this one, we'll probably get like a dark sky. So probably like nighttime, or go in nighttime. If you play this on the intermediate and expert difficulties, you do encounter more horrific weather. More horrible weather. Night stages. Tougher AI, to say the least. Like, the game is tougher on the intermediate and expert difficulties. And surprisingly, there is actually a 100% category for this game, which is you complete the Novice Championship, the Intermediate, the Expert, and also the Challenge mode and the Arcade mode. Everything, basically. The Challenge mode is a mode that really doesn't act as any sort of progression. But considering it's part of the game, and we've made a category with it, it's actually part of the 100% category. The way I can't speak today. The other thing is that the other categories I mentioned, so the arcade percent and the challenge percent. The arcade percent's rather obvious because there's a menu that says arcade. But to get to the challenge mode, you have to go into the main menu, go into the rally menu, and then it has like championship, single rally, single stage, time trial, and at the bottom it has challenge. And challenges are the head-to-head stages that we did before. It's the head-to-head stages, and you have to do 4 rounds each of Japan, which is an exclusive stage for the challenge mode, and that's the default stage. It's unlocked from the start of the game. You have to do 4 rounds of Greece, 4 rounds of Sweden, 4 rounds of Kenya, and 4 rounds of the UK. You can't use the whole disqualification glitch because you have to win the challenges themselves. So it's all variable, and the thing is, the car it puts you in every time is completely random. So it's a completely randomised run from start to finish. So somebody might get bad RNG on one race, and you might get good RNG, and it might swap in their favour, and they get the good RNG, and we get the bad RNG. Also, I should mention, one of the biggest skips found in Sweden, this was actually found by Zorfkov himself. It's called the ice skip, so pay attention. So here's the ice rink, and it stretches for miles. Well, we don't actually have to do that, because we can just skip across the ice by doing this. Okay, by not doing that, that went so wrong. That was not what I wanted to do. There we go. So, I was actually supposed to flip the car there the first time. I don't know why it decided to put me back on all four wheels again. Would have been nice if it did flip over. There we go. So there's two things you have to do. So you saw me flip over the car flip over at that barrier. So that actually resets you ahead on the stage. And then for the second one, what you have to do is you just drive straight towards it, aim as far to the left as you can, and it'll put you on to the bit further ahead on the track as well. Them two cuts alone save around 20-30 seconds or something like that. So getting your car wrecked is actually worth it on this stage. Like, it is worth doing that to wreck your car. No joke. It's no joke. Padoomch. Sorry, I couldn't resist. It's no joke. Nice. Nice. Okay, 241.50. Sweet. Okay, halfway there. Stage 3 is actually pretty fast, so this should be fine. Also, this is the first time I've actually run this category since I did my 1:19.58. I actually haven't run the category for a while. I've been running New Game Plus because it's been in marathons the last few months, but I haven't actually run the original championship. But luckily I played the game enough to drive the car and know how it handles. I actually did like a quick test run before I started, just to make sure I got used to the car handling again, and I have. I also think the car handling on this game, it does take some time to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's a breeze, to be honest. I think CMR 1 and 2 are kind of like that, although the second one's more favourable. Nice. And that is stage 3 done. Nice and easy. Okay, so stage 4, and it's going to be snowing as we're getting to the end. So this bug, you see how we have the graphical bug? Turns out that's actually a sign for something. So this took a while to figure out, but it clicked eventually. So if you see a grey screen like that at the start of the stage, it means you're in for a fun time. You see, what it means is that you've now got changeable weather on that stage. I mean, the weather can obviously stick with you till the end of the rally. But, for example, if you're in Finland, say you're on stage 1 in Finland, okay? You're on stage 1 in Finland. And you go, oh, it's dry. So you set off, it's dry. After about halfway, or within a minute of getting into the stage, you notice it starts to rain. This is basically what it does. It basically warns you. So you can either get, like, the weather's completely random, by the way. It's RNG in this game, believe it or not. And it does make the difference in a run. I'm not joking. Like, I think Lucky could tell you, or Zorkov himself could tell you, that having bad weather in a run really makes a difference. And it doesn't, I don't mean a good one. It makes a bad difference. You can lose so much time to the weather being a pain. So the run is basically, to get a really good run, is pray that weather is on your side. Make sure you get really good stage times from start to finish. And above all, don't mess anything up. Like the ice skip, how I messed that up. Yeah, don't mess that up. It's actually easier said than done to mess the ice skip up. The worst car to do it in, and believe it or not, this is why, for me, the Mini Cooper percent is interesting, is that getting the Mini to flip over on that particular jump is quite a slim chance. It's harder to do than it looks. Like with these cars, you can flip them over. Like the 205, for example, the Peugeot 205, that flips over quite easy. And the Seat flips over with some difficulty, but it gets there. The Mini Cooper and the Ford Escort, yeah, good luck trying to flip them. It's way harder than it looks to do that. So 240, yes! Just about at 40 minutes as well. So we've still got the super special stage to do. I just need to hope and pray that he hits me. Hopefully he does. So I don't tend to have a hard time with Sweden. But with well, with Kenya as well. With Sweden and Kenya, I tend to have an easy time with hitting the AI. But in the UK, it makes such a big difference. There you go. He didn't even hit me. I just managed to get near him. Nice. So for Australia, I actually increased the gearbox for Australia, and the main reason I do this is because on one or two of the stages there's places where you can pick up some serious speed. Now, as far as I know, I don't know if any of the other runners actually use a longer gearbox for Australia. But for me, it makes a big difference when you go down the main straight. That's mainly where it's useful. So for the most part, it's seeing if you can maintain speed with a longer gearbox. It ain't easy to do because the longer gearbox means it takes ages to get up to speed. As you can see, I'm struggling to get up to 3rd and 4th as easy now. We also have a minor cut, which I'm actually going to attempt to do here. Nice. Somehow I managed to get that right. Ah, okay, use a longer gearbox for Finland's off-car. I never used one. I tried it and didn't find too much use out of it. Maybe it probably does make a difference. The problem, like I said, the main problem with Australia though is using a gearbox is fine. Using a longer gearbox is fine, you just need to try and keep your speed as high as possible. Which isn't easy to do, and you really have to be good with it. It's not exactly easy. If you're not capable of handling the car at high speeds, then it's definitely not the car for you. The gearbox for you, I mean. Not the car. Definitely not the gearbox for you. The other thing is as well is timing your gears. I should clarify, there's manual and automatic in this game. Is the gearbox. Just like most racing games, they have a manual and automatic mode. And the manual is much faster because you can change gears pretty easy. Like as in, apart from the whole super special stage fiasco which I said before, you can really, you can really change the gears properly and keep some good speed going through the corners. So stage 2 is where we're going to be using the is where we're going to actually be using the longer gearbox to the extreme. Also, nice little cut here between these trees. Get it? Let's go. Nice. The one thing I haven't even mentioned this yet. Why am I using the Seat Cordoba, you ask? Why this one? Why not the Subaru or the Ford Focus or the 206? I'll tell you why. So, so there's like 10 blocks for the handling and the speed, sorry, the weight and the speed of the cars. And out of the lot of them, the Corolla has the lightest chassis, is the lightest car, and the Mitsubishi Lancer is the heaviest. However, here's something they don't tell you. If you look in the manual for the game, I think it's in the manual. If you look online, you'll actually find that out of all of the cars, all of them have 300 horsepower. Apart from this one. This one has 310 horsepower. And actually makes it the fastest car in the game for the standard cars. So, even though it says in the game, on the blocks, that it's got the same amount of speed as all the other cars, that's a complete lie. It doesn't. It's actually much faster than you might think. Again, the more you know, but it's true. So I think like the Toyota and the Ford actually have less horsepower than the rest. I think they have like 297, but most of them have 300, and then this has 310. It's not the lightest car, but then again, you just have to get used to the car. There you go, the more you know. Interesting statistic for those that don't know about this car or why I'm using it. But yeah, it's got the most power. That's why we use it. It's the fastest car. I always used to use the Subaru personally. I thought Subaru was great. Good all-round car, good horsepower, good handling. Nope. It was good, but it's not the best car. The best is a Seat, and that's why we use it. Also, how's the game sound for everybody? Does the game sound okay, and my mic? I'm hoping everything's okay. Sound is good? Good, good. It's funny actually, we were talking yesterday about, I think during Joseph's run, they did his Top Gear Rally, about having music in rally games, and we were saying about songs for certain countries, and someone came up with Land Down Under by Men at Work for Australia, which worked perfectly. Like, that really does work. And then the Kenya Rally, or Safari Rally, would be Toto Africa, of course. I forget what the Finnish rally was. We talked about the Finnish one yesterday. I forget. I mean, just the national anthem for Italy would work for the Italian rally. For those that haven't heard the Italian national anthem, it's brilliant. If I'm being honest, it's quite comical, but it's funny as well. You know, it's a funny national anthem to listen to. It's not bad. I'm not taking the mick. It's just funny in my eyes to listen to. So we actually use the long gearbox, the one that we've used for Australia. We actually use the long gearbox again throughout Kenya, because there is a lot of straights in Kenya. Like, there is a lot of straights in Kenya. It's also a very fast rally too. Italy is about 10 minutes long in length, and then the UK is around 12 minutes, 10 to 12 minutes. So, Australia Stage 4. This is actually one of my least favourite stages in the game, believe it or not. Like, I hate this stage with a passion. The only reason I say I hate it is because getting a good time on this stage is way harder than it looks. Like, way, way harder. Wish I was joking, but no, it is actually pretty difficult. You can try and cut across the grass and stuff, but I don't know why this track seems to always give me grief. It just seems to always do it. I don't know why. It's like the game doesn't like me. When it gets to this stage, it's like, no, you will not pass. Funnily enough, out of all of the rallies, my least favourite are Australia and Italy, and the UK when it's a pain. Although I'm getting used to the UK and it throwing rain at me, so it's fine. Greece is okay. I do like Finland. I think it's fast and frantic, and I do enjoy that. I do enjoy that quite a bit. Not doing too bad. I mean, I'm doing bad on time, but not that bad, as far as I know. I think it's possible for me to do sub 1 for Kenya. I'm hoping so anyway. I mean, all the stages added up are about 8 minutes. That's including the disqualification too, so maybe at a push. Probably a little over an hour actually after Kenya. This isn't a disaster though, it's fine. I mean, we've not had that bad weather. So far, the weather's been pretty kind to us actually. Clean Finland, Greece is fine, France was fine, there was no rain in France. You can get rain, but it's not that often if you do. Unless you do intermediate or expert, then you do get rain. It can rain in Australia, although I haven't known it to rain too often. Kenya, it doesn't rain there, and if it does, it's usually intermediate and expert when it rains. Italy is hit and miss. You've got 50-50 chance of it dry or wet, and then the UK is usually about 80% chance of rain every time. If you're in the lucky 20% where you get rain, then well done you, I guess. Okay. Kenya next. Again, don't forget, as I said last time, long gearbox because we're going to need it. And we are definitely gonna need it. Also, you have to be careful. The posts that stick out at the side of the road are actually really difficult to avoid. If you're going too fast, you're in trouble. Kenya's kind of, there is straights and stuff, but you can actually cut some of the corners, like this. There you go. That actually saves time, cutting that corner. Ironic, I know, but it does save time. Also, 2 minutes? Just about 2 minutes. Wow. That was pretty good, actually. Pretty good stage time, not gonna lie. Getting around 2 minutes on stage 1 for Kenya is pretty good. I have got sub 2 minutes, but it's very difficult. Like, it took a lot out of me. I did a run of Kenya once, just the rally. And, yeah, I got to the end of the stage, and it was like, come on, this is in the Seat, and it was I was trying to get sub 2. It took ages. I got there eventually, but my god did it take forever. So this stage, funnily enough, is actually just flat out. Even though there's corners, you just hold accelerate for the full thing, pretty much. There is going to be a time where I'm going to have to stop though. There is corners on this track, although most of them, like I said, are just pretty much straight like this. There's ones that are a bit more harsh, but it's not too bad. Personally, stage 2 is just easy in general. Funnily enough, I never used to have the guts to put my foot down throughout this stage, like at all. Never used to hold the accelerate button. I was like, how are they doing it? Well, now I've been able to get used to it that much, and it's easy. So we do have to put the brakes on here, unfortunately. Nice. Nice, 156. Sweet. So stage 3 might seem familiar to those of you that have seen the demo of this game. So if you sit in the menu for long enough, you actually see a video of the Ford Focus that Colin McRae drives doing this stage. And funnily enough, his best time that he could do on this stage is like 53 something. We can actually beat that with the Seat by quite a margin. I actually used to set it as a personal goal that when I did it I'd used to copy what the game did. So if the game did this stage in a certain car, I'd do the exact same stage, same car, and try and beat the time that was originally set. I don't know why, it used to be like a nice little competition for me. Okay, what are we gonna be? 50. Actually, no, 53 is the best I could do. Anyway. On and 52. Nice. 51's even better, but I'll take 52. It's fine.
3, 2, 1, go. Safety jump, maybe.
Okay, so this stage is actually slower going backwards. It's a lot slower. Yeah, much slower. It's fine though. Not that bad. Not that bad. I'd heavily say that if you want to run this game, it's not too hard to pick up and play. Although I would say play it casually first. And again, we are always looking for new runners. It's always nice when you get a new runner playing this game. Recently, a group formerly known as Blind Runners, which I'm actually part of myself, as in one of the co-managers of the group and everything. So, I should briefly mention this. So, Blind Runners is a group of speedrunners online that have either never done speedrunning before, or have done speedrunning but have never played certain games before. And the whole idea is we get together every weekend and we do blind races. So a game will get picked out. There'll be a straw poll that will happen, and there'll be 3 games on it, and whichever one gets the most votes for that week will be the game that everybody's going to do a run of. So there's been that many games put in. We've got enough games for like 3 years already. And funnily enough, this weekend the game of choice is Colin McRae Rally 1. So the one that got picked was actually one that I suggested. The thing is, it's a nice concept. I mean, there's apparently already a group out there that does the same thing, but you know, oh well. And as a whole, we've been going pretty good, been going pretty strong, and like I said, they're every weekend, and it's something that if you've been interested in getting into speedrunning games, then you don't have to just doesn't mean you have to just be, you know, you don't have to be a speedrunner to actually join. It's just a case of I've always wanted to try this game, or I've always wanted to try and run it, but I've just never had a chance. And then there you get to experience what everybody else does as well. But if you've already got experience, say for me, because I've got the record on Colin McRae Rally 1, I'm not allowed at all. Well, that was close. I'm not allowed to participate because I've already got knowledge of the game, which is fair. It is fair. Oh, it's raining on Italy. Oh, this is going to be a nightmare. Dry tyres, wet tarmac. This is a nice challenge. I haven't had wet tarmac, as in I haven't had rain in Italy for a while. This isn't all bad news though. I mean, it is bad because I've got dry tyres on, but believe it or not, the tyres can still grip the tarmac a bit more than normal. Like, if this was dry, the car would grip the tarmac, but for me, I can still go about as fast as I normally do, except there's some corners that might be a bit more tricky. So I do need to be careful. Italy's also a weird place where the frame rate drops, so I do apologise that if the frame rate, for whatever reason, in the game decides to drop, then it's because of the weather effects in Italy in general. I tend to get quite a few frame rate drops in the UK as well, if I'm not careful. Also, it looks like it's going dry already, which is interesting. It's brightening up already. So we've had a bit of rain, but it's drying up. Nice. See, that's the good RNG, if you ask me. Yeah, it's drying up already, what do you know? Oh, that was lucky. I mean, I've never had that before, I don't think, or if I have, it's been a while. Blimey. So it is still raining. You can still see the droplets of rain on the screen. But it's lightened off now, so it's not as bad. If it starts drying off, which is what this is doing anyway, if it starts drying off, when we get to the next stage it should be dry. Because it will continue to dry out throughout the entire stage. At least that's the hope. Okay, so is it gonna go wet again? Is it gonna start raining again? Or not? Doesn't seem like it. Alright, seems clean so far. The thing is, time will only tell whether we're going to get wet weather or not. You can see why the short gearbox comes in useful as well, because of all the bloody corners that we've got to negotiate. Yep, it's raining. Here we go again. This time it's back to front, so we've done wet to dry, now we're doing dry to wet. Okay, so it seems like Italy wants to be a pain. This is fine. I can work with this. This is fine. It's not convenient, but I have to admit it's not the best situation. The thing, like I said, this is the thing. This is the main bit of the run that actually decides how it's going to go. It's probably going to rain on the UK. Chances of that happening are pretty much, like I said, 80% chance of rain in the UK. So the chances of it raining are pretty slim. Pretty big. And the chances of it being dry, and the chances of it being completely dry are very slim. I actually had a run that was near enough perfect weather the whole way. Hey, Amadim. Sup, British dudes? I'm alright, I'm alright. Actually, I should mention this whilst he's here. So, Amadim, the guy who's in chat right now on the BSG channel, he's actually the reason why McRaeathon is a thing, so yeah. If anything, big thanks goes out to him for this. Like, we have progressed it, but originally he was the one that said to me, why don't you do a marathon that's based on Colin McRae? And I was like, no one will watch that. No, it was him. But we've progressed it over the years. The OG, that's it, yeah, that's the one. Also, rain on this stage is a nightmare. So if you just excuse me, I'm gonna go a bit quiet. You might hear me, but I'm gonna go quiet a little bit. So speaking of graphics designer and all this stuff, there's Hypnotic. So you've literally got the clan in the chat. Hypnotic, the graphics designer. Amadim, the original idea for McRaeathon. Also, I wonder what this is going to treat me like. How's this going to treat me? Come on. Up the hill. Come on. Up. There we go. Yeah, first McRaeathon was a while ago. Although, as I was saying yesterday, that was it was a relay more or less than anything else. But that's because I couldn't think of how to actually run a marathon. And yet somehow we all survived 6.5 to 8 hours of Colin McRae rally games. Then McRaeathon 2 happened and it ran like a proper one. Like I said, having rain on this stage does not help whatsoever. Horrendous. This stage has probably got to be the worst for rain. The next one's not as bad. Still bad, but not as bad. Oh, we're coming up pretty close to the estimate anyway. In terms of my PB and where I am, I think this will still be underestimate. I don't know how bad my time's going to be, but it's fine. It should be underestimate regardless. There will be news regarding McRaeathon Hib towards the end of today. So if you're interested in McRaeathon and what it's got to offer and everything, we'll be mentioning details towards the end. Oh god. All information regarding McRaeathon and whatnot and its future, that will all be discussed at the end, so in the ending, because that's where we'll have the afterthoughts and announcements, as they say for most marathons these days. Afterthoughts and announcements. Also, I'm going to be on the safe side, unless the UK decides to be nice to me today, I am going to just switch the tyres over to wet, because I don't want to be messing things up that bad. Can never get that right on that corner. So the shortcuts in this are actually the first half of the stage, funnily enough. And this does save time. Might not look like it, but it does. I always go, rather than take the route round, I always cut that little bit of grass there. Don't know why, it's just pleasing for me to do. And please make the jump. Nice. I have to admit, rain on any sort of rally game, particularly Colin McRae Rally 2, is quite bad. Like, the last thing you want is rain. Like, in a casual playthrough, you're like, oh, this is fine, this is fine. But in a speedrun, it's the last thing you want. Like, normally Italy's nice and bright and all this stuff, and normally you don't have to worry about anything. But this is what happens when the weather goes sour. It goes dark, it's wet, you have to use your headlights. This is practically a night stage now with the rain. No joke. It's true. Also, nice little shortcut if I remember where it is. There we go. So that actually does save us some nice time on the stage, which is good. Nice. And that's Italy done. Also, graphical bug, as I said. Okay, so what's the weather going to be like? Oh, it's dry. Awesome. Dry UK. The game is being nice to me. Bloody hell. Remember how I said there's 80% chance of it being wet? Well, that meant there was a 20% chance it's dry. If anything, this is pretty good. That means I can do the first two stages completely dry, and that's going to be good as well, because it means stage times will come right down. I'm actually going to gain some time back here, because it's not wet. There was mention of Sonic R, actually, yesterday, I believe. Somebody mentioned about Sonic R. I mean, we can see what we can do, is what I'll say, Hypnotic. We'll see what we can do. Ooh, okay. Okay, oh! Hey, steady. Nice. Nice jump. So there's actually a lot of cuts that we're going to do in England, in the UK I mean. And a lot of these do save time. There's a major cut in stage 4, which is to do with a certain bridge, but getting that is pretty bad. Off-road at points, to be fair. Yeah, true. Like I said, we'll get back to people on rules and stuff like that. Ooh. Nice. 158. Sweet. Oh, because it was dry. And it's still dry. Come on. It's good that it's dry for these stages, because of the fact that if it's not dry, then that's a bad thing. This stage can be a nightmare when it's wet. No joke. When it's wet, this stage is awful. Stage 3 is the worst, actually. I'll check the weather again for stage 3 because it could be wet for stage 3 as well. If it's wet for stage 3, then I'll change tyres. If it's not, I'll keep it dry. It might start dry and end wet, so I'll take the chance. Like I said, I think I'm the only person that runs the UK, but with a shortened gearbox. The only reason I do this is because I think that with all the corners and everything, especially stage 3, it's just convenient because you can get the acceleration down more. Plus, getting to 6th gear means you get to top speed faster, even if it is less than what you want. Like that. But it is convenient. Nice. That's pretty smooth. Okay, is it wet? Yeah, it's gonna rain. Okay. I'll take my chances. I think I've made the right choice here. So it's actually, this game's gonna now show off its ugly side. So it's gonna start raining in the second on this stage, and then on stage 4 it's gonna get 10 times worse. Best country in CMR2? I'd have to say Finland or France, to be honest. France? If I had to really pick, I'd say France. Because I love the whole tarmac physics and the stages and everything. They're a real good challenge. I think Italy's horrendous and probably goes down as one of the worst. Probably is one of the worst, actually. Also, there is different camera views as well. So there's a far cam, like a bumper cam, hood cam, cockpit view, because that's a thing, and a working speedometer. And if they work, windscreen wipers. Oh god, look at the mud on the back of the car. Good grief. Minor cut saves like maybe 0.4 of a second, if that. Tight roads though, yeah, exactly. It's going from cloudy to wet, and then, yeah, it's going from cloudy to wet in this stage, and then in the last stage it's going from wet to heavy rain. And then the finale, the last stage is dry. So doing the last stage will be fun because it's on wet tyres. Means I've also got to change the tyres again. Not been too bad this stage, if I'm being honest. Funnily enough, in the UK, during this run, it's gone from dry to cloudy, and now it's going to start raining. Which is ironic, because that's what it's done here. Also, there is a huge cut in this, but we're not going to be doing it, because even though it does save a lot of time, it's very risky, and I don't want to risk it. I'll do the bridge skip, if I can pull it off. Please be nice to me, bridge, please be nice to me. Ooh. Nice.
50 turn 4 left onto mud into hairpin right. 13 6 right.
It reset me back onto the actual bridge. So that's the bridge skip. Lucky found that one, and he basically found that if you decide to flip the car over, pretty good. Works quite well.
13 5 left into long 4 right. 100 turn 4 right onto mud into hairpin left. 100 3 right. 74 left.
Nearly there anyway. Not got long to go now. Literally just got this stage, and then the super special, which should be easy. And there you go. But the other skip is so fun. What skip? The main one. Yeah, the main skip in the game is really tough to pull off in the Seat. It's actually pretty fun to pull off in the what do you call it? It's pretty fun to pull off in the Mini Cooper though.
33 left, caution into 4 right. 75 right.
Okay.
76 right,
And right towards the end.
okay.
Nice. Like I said, all of that goes away. I'm also going to repair the gearbox and the engine too.
3, 2,
Okay, so time will be when I hit McRae. Sad no out of bounds. Well, the out of bounds is pretty hard to pull off in the Seat. And it's too risky for a run. I could show it off, but it's getting it right the first try that's pretty hard. There we go. Time. 1:21:10. There we go. 12 points. Won the rally. And we won the championship. There you go. And that was Colin McRae Rally 2 for the PC. Like I said, this is available on the PlayStation 1. Game Boy Advance version, or the Game Boy Advance version, is different. And the PC version is the best version of the bunch. Again, this should come as no surprise. But yeah. We also have like a fun little glitch that comes up as well, which is basically how all this works is in the PS1 version your car goes across the bottom of the screen and then stops at a house and the fireworks go up, and normally you can see the car and the fireworks and everything. But on the PC it's bugged and it just doesn't work. We don't know why it doesn't work, but it just doesn't work. Yeah, that's the run. There you go. So that's been all from me. I'm going to hand it back over to the intermission, and what I'm going to do is we'll go to the quick intermission, and we'll get the next run set up for you guys. So hopefully you're ready for the next one, which is Monster Truck Madness 2 All Races by Zorfkov. So I'll hand it back over to the intermission. So yeah, we'll be back very soon.